Hi, and welcome to another episode of Emerald Isle Vacation Home Specialist. I am your host and real estate agent, Dennis Richkovsky. Most of the content on my channel revolves around Emerald Isle. After all, it's where I live, work, and play. And while everyone may want to live at the beach like I do, not everyone may want to live in Emerald Isle. So in this episode, I will introduce you to Atlantic Beach, another coastal community on Bogue Banks. For orientation purposes, while Emerald Isle occupies the western half of Bogue Banks, Atlantic Beach lies to the east, some 20 miles, and occupies the eastern 6 miles of this south-facing barrier island. And while Emerald Isle is a fairly youthful community, having only been incorporated in 1957, Atlantic Beach can trace its history back 2 centuries. Indeed, it was in the 1870s when John Royal built the first bathhouse in Atlantic Beach on land just east of the present-day Oceana Pier and the Club Colony neighborhood. More bathhouses and a large dance hall followed, and Atlantic Beach quickly became a center for entertainment and amusement. When a bridge connecting Atlantic Beach to the mainland replaced the ferry service in 1928, development accelerated only to be dampened by an economic depression and a world war. The 1950s and 1960s were a special time in Atlantic Beach, and an area known as the Circle became the town's focal point. Families from all over eastern North Carolina brought their children here to swim in the ocean, feel the sand between their toes, and smell the salt air. The town provided both free parking and lifeguards, and adults dressed up to go out. For better or for worse, the 1970s arrived, and society, culture, and family dynamics began to change. And Atlantic Beach, like much of the country, was not immune to these changes. You could speculate endlessly on what caused these changes: the gas crisis, high interest rates, the Vietnam War. But Atlantic Beach, once a popular place with families, now was more noted for its nightlife. Once the changes began, there were no stopping them, and it didn't take long for Atlantic Beach to become more commercial. Efforts have been made in recent years to reverse this transformation, efforts that are ongoing to this day, with the goal of recapturing the feeling of Atlantic Beach's heyday in the 1960s and 1950s. In the meanwhile, Atlantic Beach has more condominiums and high-rises and is more like Nag's Head or Kill Devil Hills than it is like Emerald Isle. I say this not in a negative way, but simply to state that Atlantic Beach is different from Emerald Isle. And that is a good thing. Because whether you're visiting the Growler or the Atlantic Beach Surf Shop or just heading out to the ocean, you are sure to find whatever it is you're looking for in Atlantic Beach, North Carolina. Atlantic Beach is home to a renowned fishing pier, plenty of public beaches, and multiple oceanfront restaurants and nightclubs. When you find yourself in Atlantic Beach, by all means, visit the shops and restaurants in the several shopping centers. Walk into acclaimed fine seafood restaurants a stone's throw from the waterfront, or grab a shrimp burger in one of the local diners. And then there's always the ever-present beach, with seasonal lifeguards, an on-site park with playground equipment, and vendors to satisfy visitors of all ages. And then there is Fort Macon. Fort Macon State Park is a fantastic spot to spend an afternoon. With great historic exhibits, beautiful views, and well-maintained hiking trails, Fort Macon is an awesome attraction for both history buffs and outdoor enthusiasts alike. And if you are an angler, Atlantic Beach offers exceptional fishing and boating as well, what with its proximity to both the Atlantic Ocean and the Intracoastal Waterway. When it comes to real estate, Atlantic Beach has about the same number of homes for sale as does Emerald Isle, but the inventory is a bit different. In Atlantic Beach, 61% of the properties for sale are condominiums. Prices start in the low $50,000 range and go up to $2.6 million. There are 7 homes currently listed with a price above $1 million. In contrast, only 31% of the properties for sale in Emerald Isle are condominiums. Prices also are a fair bit higher in general. The low end of the market in Emerald Isle begins at $145,000 and the high end tops out at $3.6 million, with 21 homes listed in excess of $1 million. In Atlantic Beach, the mean home value is $296,000, and in Emerald Isle, that value jumps to $360,000. Population-wise, Atlantic Beach has a permanent population of about 1,600, while Emerald Isle's permanent population is more than double at 3,700. Despite these differences in atmosphere, history, accommodation, and real estate, when you live or vacation in either Atlantic Beach or Emerald Isle, you don't have to stare at the back of someone else's beach chair or step over blankets to wade in the surf. Many coastal resorts make you choose between the hot beach spot with vacationing hordes or a lesser-known spot with quiet isolation. Fortunately, with both Atlantic Beach and Emerald Isle, you don't have to choose. You can have it all. When you are ready to investigate living in Atlantic Beach, Emerald Isle, or anywhere else on the Crystal Coast, go to my website, www.eihomesforsale.com, and request my free guide to living where you vacation. Or text your email address to 919-308-2292. Return next week to the same bat channel at the same bat time of Thursday at 9 a.m. for another episode of Emerald Isle Vacation Home Specialist.